You remember the annoying thing, right? And I don't just mean something you find annoying. It was actually this thing's original name. It's an animation of a fat frog in a biker jacket riding around on an invisible motorcycle. If you don't, consider yourself lucky. But maybe this will help jog your memory a bit.
Ding 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 dum dum bum bum bam bam bum 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 bam 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 rim run run ram ba 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 ba.
Sorry, can't deal with that.
For some reason, this little bastard caught on and became some huge cultural phenomenon all over Europe, with everything from awful remix albums and music videos to merchandise and toys, even going so far as almost getting a movie and TV show. Damn Frog even went on a nationwide tour in Australia once. How is that even possible? Some of that popularity even trickled over here to the West, which brings me to the monstrosity that I'll be telling you about today.
Crazy Frog, aka the annoying thing. Got a game. Strap in, folks.
We're gonna have a bad time.
Truth be told, I barely even remember how I got this stupid game. As far as I remember, it just kinda showed up one day, probably on Christmas one year. Must have been around 2007 or 2008. And the worst part about that is just thinking about what my parents must have paid to get this mess. Whatever it cost them, I can guarantee it was way more than it's worth. Let's talk about presentation first. There's no story, so throw any thoughts of that out the window. Also, I would like to point out that this game comes on a CD. They didn't even bother putting in enough content to make it worth the extra space on a DVD. It's a true sign of quality there, folks. I also want to point out that it uses the fact that it has 2 music videos on the disc as a selling point. Shitty, low-quality versions of Crazy Frog music videos. Because that's what all the kids want? Maybe if they at least used high-quality renders of the videos, it would have fit on the goddamn DVDs they chose not to use. In terms of overall look, the graphics are pretty muddy and low quality too. Some of the models for the racers look decent, but most of it just looks awful. Even the menus look bland and uninspired. They could have at least tried to make something look interesting here. And don't even get me started on the sound effects. Every time you enter or exit a menu, you hear this obnoxious and borderline disgusting groaning from the frog. And it may just be the worst thing ever. Well, besides the soundtrack, of course, which consists entirely of awful remixes of popular songs. For every single course. Some of the tracks wouldn't even be that bad if it weren't for the constant hey-oh, yoo-hoo, ding-a-dong, engine noise bullshit laced everywhere throughout them. Who thought this was a good idea? Needless to say, I don't feel like getting a copyright claim from the unfortunate bastard who owns these tracks, so I'm going to stick to other better music. Oh, and did I mention that every single course is dreadfully uninspired and dull? There isn't even a single track with unique or noteworthy design. I mean hell, even Sonic R has better track design than this game. Maybe even a better soundtrack. Actually, I'm not sure about that one. Let's talk about characters for a second. We have the annoying thing himself, the annoying thing in a Hawaiian shirt, a robot version of him, this general dude, a random 90s rap kid, this guy? Who even are these people? Okay, I guess these are all supposed to be from assorted music videos of the frog or something, but none of them really have any character whatsoever, not even the annoying thing himself. The most you know is that he's an annoying as hell frog that everyone hates, and he's like, wanted or something? I really couldn't care to try thinking about it any deeper than that. I don't think the devs thought much about it either. I mean, they all have their own stats, but they pretty much mean nothing anyway. They pretty much all play the same, which is to say they all play awful. Speaking of gameplay, let's talk about that. There is none. Well, there technically is, but it's a mess. It is single-handedly the slipperiest and most impossible to control kart racer I've ever had the misfortune to play. It feels like somebody looked at F-Zero's speed and physics and wanted to throw that on top of Mario Kart, without accounting for how awful of an idea that is. Most of the courses don't have any kind of railing on the side either, so expect to fly off the screen to your death. A lot. But that doesn't matter much because the CPU racers are 1,000 times worse at the game than you are. Every so often there's one or two keeping up with you, but usually you're blazing ahead even with how often you fly off the map. And I hope you weren't planning on using the mini-map to help guide you, because your character is literally never on it. I feel like they didn't want to program a mini-race at the bottom of the screen as well as the actual game, so they just kinda decided to make some icons fly around near the map to pretend like you can actually read it. It's totally worthless. And it couldn't be a kart racer without power-ups, could it? Too bad the power-ups are god-awful in this game. 95% of the time they'll either just end up hitting a wall or be placed in a spot that's virtually untouchable. And to add insult to injury, most of the icons for the power-up don't make any sense either. I mean, sure, the missile and toxic cloud are self-explanatory, I guess, but that's about it. For example, you see a magnet and think, oh, that must draw in all the coins around me. But no, it actually slows down any racers around you. Not that there's gonna be any racers around you thanks to the atrocious AI. Speaking of those stupid coins, they're all over the courses, and you wanna know what they do? Absolutely nothing. I mean, the manual says they restore your health, but you never lose any health to begin with unless you really suck, and on top of that, there are these bundles of little gears that give you full heals regardless, and they're really plentiful too. There's also a lightning bolt power-up. You'd think they use that for the speed boost, right? Nope, of course not. Actually, it sends a flash of light behind you to blind other racers, which you're never gonna need. It's nonsensical. And when you finally give up on the main racing mode, you can always resort to playing the minigames. But be warned, they are by far worse than the actual racing. I hesitate to even call them games, to be honest. First, there's Crazy Dance, which involves picking a song and playing a rhythm game along with it. It completely misses the point of a rhythm game, however, because it's never actually on beat with the song you picked. And on top of that, the actual interface is dreadful, and you can never quite tell which note's coming up next, especially on the higher difficulties. The other minigame is called Crazy Pinball, and I don't know what they were on when they named it, because it is certainly not pinball. What you do is pick a course and control the frog as a circular cursor spins him, stopping it at the right time so it will bounce around and kill enemies on the field. It at least functions unlike the other game, but it's still really boring. Most of the gameplay consists of pressing X to make the frog bounce around. Over. And over. And over. Eventually, you'll either kill all the enemies on the field or run out of turns. I'm not sure how you run out of turns though, considering there's no turn counter to be found anywhere on the screen. There's also time trials and a battle mode, but they're just as worthless as the main game is. When I was outlining the script for this video, I couldn't even bring myself to play them for more than a little bit because of how absolutely dreadful they are. And once you're done with all that, you're left with absolutely nothing. There isn't a single thing to unlock in this game. Everything is available at the start, giving you absolutely no reason to keep playing it. So do yourself a favor, and don't keep playing. As a matter of fact, don't play it at all. I was in a used game store the other day, and I saw them selling this game for $6. $6 whole dollars. It's not worth that. It's not worth a fraction of that. If you found this game for a nickel and bought it, you'd have wasted your money. Avoid this game. Better yet, if you get the chance, destroy it. And that's not even the worst part of this story. This game is actually a sequel. That's right, there was a Crazy Frog Racer that came before this, and it was only released in Europe. Those poor bastards. And they felt the need to proclaim that this is Crazy Frog Racer 2 in Europe right on the bottom of the main menu. Europeans started this stupid craze, and of course it had to leak into the States at some point. And what's worse is that this game is pretty much a rehashed mess of the first one.
I don't know how this caught on and got a game, let alone two of them, but it really should be avoided at all costs. Leave it to rot in the bargain bin you found it in. It's not worth the stress it will cause you.
Hey there, thanks for watching. If you like this video, why don't you, go down there and give it the little like button down there. Maybe even leave a comment and tell me what you liked, what I could maybe do better next time. If you want to hear more of me, I'm going to leave a link right here to my other channel, Team 7N7, which is a playthrough channel with a friend of mine. I'm currently doing a Resident Evil 6 playthrough, so I'll leave a link to the first episode of that. And check out over here if you want to hear the music by the guy who did my intro and outro themes. I'll also leave links in the description to the guy who did my channel art, and I'll see you all next time. Okay, thanks, bye.